wickedness, do what is good. And so, this is where I wanted to go tonight, because this is the message that I had never heard growing up. I was always taught that grace came from Jesus. That's what I was taught in Sunday school. Grace came from Jesus, that it basically wasn't there until Jesus came into the world. That's not true. Because when you read the Bible, it shows that God's been using grace this whole time in the Word, in the Old Testament. But and so that was the first misconception. And the other thing that I had as far as a misconception is that grace is something that God uses to save us. And that's it. But I didn't know that there was a power of grace that can help me walk through my daily lives. The power of grace which tells me that I'm not lost. The power of grace that tells me that I'm not an illegitimate son, that I'm not a bastard child, which is what the world told me that I am. The power of grace that tells me that I'm his son, that lets me see the circumstances in my life, not the way they feel, but the way God views them. That grace. And then the final thing, which is the new revelation that I got from just this study, is that grace, we are a new creation. And we don't have the same desires that we used to have. And we can have faith in that. We can believe in that. So if my belief when I started this was just that grace is something that saves me, I'm missing most of the picture. I'm missing the power that's going to help me walk out here and live an effective life. I'm missing the power that's going to help me go and tell somebody about Jesus in a way that's going to make them want to come to church. I'm missing that whole picture. So when we believe, we have to be careful. We have to study. We have to listen. We have to come to church and listen to Pastor Janie so that we know what we believe. How can we believe in something we don't even know what it is? And I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. That's why I'm preaching this message, is because there's things out there. Guys, Jesus is real. And that's the one that he doesn't want us to have guilt and shame over. Not, when I was 12 years old, I shoplifted a candy bar. I'm a bad guy. Knowing I've got millions of terrible things in my heart that I'll never tell anybody. There's things I won't tell y'all. Yeah, there's things I will never tell y'all. But I'm not guilty and I'm not ashamed about it, because I know that that's the one Jesus carried to the cross. So he comes out of paradise to be labeled as the worst of the worst, filthy, dirty, rotten human being. He takes it to the cross, dies with it, and is to the cross, dies with it, and is resurrected back to new life, so that thing can no longer have power on us. So why do we allow it to have power in our lives? Why do we allow fear to dictate? But and so that was the first misconception. And the other thing that I had as far as a misconception is that grace is something that God uses to save us. And that's it. But I didn't know that there was a power of grace that can help me walk through my daily lives. The power of grace which tells me that I'm not lost. The power of grace that tells me that I'm not an illegitimate son, that I'm not a bastard child, which is what the world told me that I am. The power of grace that tells me that I'm his son, that lets me see the circumstances in my life, not the way they feel, but the way God views them. That grace. And then the final thing, which is the new revelation that I got from just this study, is that grace transforms us. That grace is a transformative power. That grace is the power that God uses to bring us from one place to the next place. Grace is the power that God uses to taking us from looking at pornography or smoking meth or making Pastor Janie, so that we know what we believe. How can we believe in something we don't even know what it is? And I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. That's why I'm preaching this message, is because there's things out there. Guys, Jesus is real, and we know this, but is he the love of our life? He loved us so much that he stepped down out of his amazing paradise palace, which we read about up here, paradise in heaven. He stepped down into this world. And all the guilt and shame, think of the worst sin you can think of right now. The one that you know you got in your heart, but you'd never tell anybody, but when somebody else does it, you point the finger because it makes you feel better about yourself. That one. That sin. Think about that. That's the one Jesus carried to the cross. That's the one that he doesn't want us to have guilt and shame over. Not, when I was 12 years old, I shoplifted a candy bar. I'm a bad guy. Knowing I've got millions of terrible things in my heart that I'll never tell anybody. There's things I won't tell y'all. Yeah, there's things I will never tell y'all. But I'm not guilty and I'm not ashamed about it, because I know that that's the one Jesus carried to the cross. So he comes out of paradise to be labeled as the worst of the worst, filthy, dirty, rotten human being. Week that represents how much Jesus loved us. But how much do we love him? We started this study with God's value system and how much he valued us, y'all. And we know this. This is how much he valued us. So how much do we value him? Jesus gave us a way to scale it. He says you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. And you show God you love him by loving your neighbor as yourself. But y'all, how much do we love Jesus in our choices? How much do we love Jesus in our choices? And I'm not talking about, I'm talking about, is he the first thing you think of in the morning? Should he be the first thing you think of in the morning? I'm asking. Is he the last thing you think of when you go to sleep? Yeah, that's love. Y'all know when you first meet somebody, like when I met my wife, and by the way, I put you down on grateful for every day, and I was grateful for Pastor Janie today too, and Swag, I'm grateful for you, because we got to be grateful for, one thing every day. You got a day, Swag. Appreciate you, and I'm grateful for y'all. I'm grateful for church. This is awesome. But think about that. Is he the last thing? Like, when you have something good happen in your life, but when you first meet that puppy love, and man, you can't even get off the phone, and you used to want to go to sleep at 9 o'clock, and somehow you stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning, and you ain't even tired. And boom, you ready to go to work the next morning. Y'all know that love. Like, if we knew how much Jesus is in love with us and how amazing he is and how awesome he is, we should have that same excitement for him, And I do now. And that was the difference in the belief that I used to have and the belief that I have now. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life. It's real. It happened. And, when we were discussing, the Lord tonight, he's in here. He's in here right now. Like, he's listening. And we want you to know Jesus. We may not be able to comprehend everything right now, but we love you and we thank you for what you did on that cross. We thank you for saving us. Whew. Thank you for our church. Thank you for our church family. Thank you for all the people who are here tonight. And God, we want to tell more people about you in a way that would help them have hope in their life again. We want to be able to take that information to them in a way that would make a difference. The revelation. We're excited about this year and what you're doing in our church. We're excited about the changes that we're seeing. We're excited about the new revelation. We're excited about you, Lord. This is all about you. And God, tonight, I thank you for the word that you've given us. I thank you that we know now that grace is a transformative power in our life, that we're not who we used to be, that we're not the shame and the guilt, that we're not the mistakes that we've made, that, yes, these fleshly bodies may have made those mistakes at some point in our life, but that's not who we are anymore, and that you don't see us that way. You see us as a new creation in you. And, God, I'm thankful that the only thing that you don't know is what our sins were before Jesus came into the picture. I'm thankful for that you chose to forget our past, and you chose to accept Jesus in our place. Now, that's something to be grateful for right there, knowing the mistakes that I've made. God, I'm thankful for that. I'm so grateful for that. I'm thankful that we have a paradise and eternity in home. But, Lord, I'm not just thankful for what's to come. I'm thankful for the here and now. I'm thankful for the difficult times. I'm grateful for when it's hard. God, I'm grateful for the challenges that you've given us. I'm grateful for this opportunity to stand before you tonight, to stand before your people tonight, Lord, and learn and grow, Lord, as we all grow together in New Birth Community Church. As we become more of who you have called us to be individually, as we become more of who you have called us to be as a church, as you bring those gifts to fruition in our lives, maybe with our hands, maybe with our speaking, maybe with our love, maybe with our prayer, whatever that gift is, God, that we would stop sitting down on it. That the only way that we can show grace to others is by using the gifts that you've given us. And God, we want to use our gifts, God. That's how we show you that we love you. You loved us enough to die for us. And we show you that we love you by using our gifts. Even when it's hard. Even when it don't feel good. Even when you think you can't do it. Inspire us right now, God, in this moment, to use our gifts to further the kingdom. And as we all become together as one team, as New Birth Community Church, a mighty team, one body, each person representing a different member of the body, a leg, finger, who cares? They're all just as important. They're all just as important. And so as we move forward from this night, let us act on our love. And not just say, I love you, Jesus. But let us act on our love from this night forward. And Lord, I thank you for the miracles, the signs, and the wonders. I thank you for healing in people's lives, Father. I thank you for opening our eyes, Lord. I thank you for opening our ears, Lord, for bringing us closer to you this evening, God. I thank you for this time that we have spent with you in your house, Jesus. And so, Father, as we move forward, Father, tomorrow into the Good Friday service, I pray, Lord, for the service tomorrow and Pastor Janie, who's bringing forth the word, Lord. I know you're going to use her in a mighty way, God, that somebody would be in this service, Lord, and they would see something they've never seen before, that they would hear something that they've never heard before, and that would cause them to move in a way like they've never moved before. And as we go forth into the Easter service, Lord, let this be the most special Easter, God, that we've ever had in our lives, not just at New Birth Community Church, but in our lives, Lord, understanding and seeing you more clearly than we have ever seen you, understanding and seeing the sacrifice that you made so much more clearly than we